Welcome back to the Jump Trade Deadline Special. We got Ramona Shelburne with us. We got Brian Windhorst with us. Paul Pierce still with us. What is the latest on the Marcus Morris sweepstakes, Ramona?
Okay, Marcus Morris will be going to the Clippers.
The Clippers.
But this is still a little bit fluid. The Knicks have on the Knicks side, okay, they're going to do this for Mo Harkless for a 2020 first, a 2021 second, but there's still something else going on with this. So this is just the side of the Knicks. My understanding is that Mo Harkless is staying there in New York, and they intend to keep him.
The Knicks may be working on some other maneuvers right now.
Yep.
Also, the Clippers now have opened up 3 or possibly even 4 roster spots. So other things are happening. Obviously, the Cleveland Cavaliers have just acquired Andre Drummond at center. They now have Tristan Thompson, who they want to move on from. So Tristan Thompson now becomes one of the most actively, trying to move players in the league in this last 20, 25 minutes.
Wow. What do you think, Paul, of the idea of that deal going through?
Well, the good thing is you get a guy who's battle-tested. You get another veteran. And it gives them more size, when they get into the playoffs and they have to match up some of these big guys they have in the West. And some toughness and leadership. That's what I like about. And he's a consistent guy. I mean, I think he really takes a rotation spot away from J. Michael Green, who's been pretty inconsistent for them. So he gives them a stable veteran as you get deeper in the playoffs.
And they keep him away from the Lakers.
And you stay away from the Lakers.
That's really one of the biggest
this is just where we are in this league right now. The Kawhi Leonard situation, this situation, we're going to have buyouts in the next, 7 to 10 days that are going to come down. And then obviously we are barreling towards a playoff series between these two teams.
Yeah.
This is an LA league right now. So much that happens is about LA versus LA.
And of course, for the Clippers particularly, the Clippers have been the little brother here for so long. And the idea that they pulled off getting Kawhi and now getting Marcus Morris.
Let me just say this. This is what's happening right now is the fact that the Lakers traded so much for Anthony Davis.
Yeah.
And they don't regret it, okay? It's not a thing. But when they've gone all in, there's just not much left there to do. And because Kyle Kuzma is like the only main asset that they have, if they're not willing to include Kyle Kuzma in a trade, they pretty much can't make it. Now, I'm sure they're looking to try to pick up Derrick Rose. It was believed that Derrick Rose was not going to be moved by the Pistons. But now that they've moved on from Andre Drummond, I wouldn't be surprised if the Lakers go back and try one last thing here.
They have 19 minutes. They have 19 minutes to get this done. This is amazing
When
to
the
watch.
Lakers did the Anthony Davis trade, they really left the cupboard bare. When the Clippers did the Paul George trade, they didn't leave the cupboard bare. And it's not just...
They had more in the cupboard, too.
Yes, and it's not because they outfoxed the Lakers on this or whatever. It's just they have more, and that's what we're going to see it today, and I think we're going to see it again in the future.
Well, Ramona, I know this is still fluid. I know there might be another piece of this deal, but it's enough for me because I think that this is going, and I think that...
Just don't aim at me.
Oh, yeah, there we go.
You need professional help. I just want you to know that.
I understand.
I'm just saying, one more trade to announce. It's going to be a light free agency. This is all I have, people. Woj reporting Washington trading Jordan McRae to Denver for Shabazz Napier, who was traded from Minnesota to the Nuggets in the Capella-Covington deal. This poor man does not know where to hang his hat. We will stay with you guys because, man, again, 18 minutes away. The clock is ticking. Marcus Morris to the Clippers. But again, you see Ramona and Brian on their phones. They say this is a fluid situation. There might be more coming. The Lakers now, if they lost out on Marcus Morris, looking to make a deal. They've got 17 minutes and 45 seconds to get it done. We are bringing in the man who knows everything. Here is our senior insider, Adrian Wojnarowski. Woj, I am so glad we finally have you on the line. Huge trade. Thank you for really opening our trade deadline show with such a blockbuster. Can you give us the latest on D'Angelo Russell to the Timberwolves and Andrew Wiggins going back to the Warriors?
Yeah, Rachel, those were conversations that picked up again, after Minnesota did the deal with Atlanta and Houston the other day. They've got, a lot of it had been built around, Rachel, number one, how much salary Minnesota would be taking on, and then number two, what the draft pick protections would be. And so that 2021 draft, that Minnesota pick now going to Golden State is protected to number 3. And if it doesn't convey that year, if they're in the top 3, that pick becomes unprotected in 2022. And I think for the Warriors, Rachel, they know they're going to have a high pick in this coming draft. And they're going to have a chance to get one of the very best players. but this is not a deep draft. And I think getting that Minnesota pick the following year had great appeal to the Warriors, and they were able to get that deal done. Gerson Rosas, since he took over as the president in Minnesota, he had targeted D'Angelo Russell. He chased him in summer free agency and stayed on him throughout this year. He has wanted to pair him with Karl Anthony Towns. Karl Anthony Towns wanted to have D'Angelo Russell as his point guard, and now he has him, and Andrew Wiggins goes to Golden State. And I think what will be interesting for Wiggins, Rachel, is they're going to ask him to play less of a role, have less of a burden than he had in Minnesota. And so you'll see how he responds to maybe taking more of a, especially on offense, taking more of a secondary role with all the great guard talent they have on the Warriors. And I think for the Warriors, they felt in the end that this was their best chance to get the most value for Russell, because there wasn't a team out there who had wanted D'Angelo Russell in the way and really needed a point guard the way that Minnesota did.
Yeah, and I always think that that's sort of a 2 for 2, because we saw how unhappy Karl Anthony Towns was getting. Gerson Rosas was dealing with his star player being visibly, publicly saying that he didn't like the direction this team was going. So obviously, not only bringing D'Angelo in is a boost on the court, could help shore up Karl Anthony Towns as well right now.
That's right.
Very interested in what you said about the Warriors and Andrew Wiggins. Maybe it's a Markelle Fultz situation. You take the guy out of the situation where there was all that pressure on him as being that #1 pick and where things didn't go well. Maybe he does become a different kind of player with a different kind of role. I want to ask you about the Knicks as well, Woj, because earlier today you and Ramona Shelburne reporting that CAA agent Leon Rose going to be the next team president of the Knicks. How did this come about, Woj? And I appreciate, by the way, he keeps looking down at his phone in case there's another major trade he's going to break on this show. But until that happens, tell me about Leon Rose.
Well, I think Jim Dolan has known Leon Rose for years, and he has been one of the elite agents in the NBA. He's based in the metropolitan New York area. He's had, a number of his clients on the Knicks throughout the years, including Carmelo Anthony and the first client he ever had, Rick Brunson, who had a significant career with the Knicks. And I think Jim Dolan, he tends, when you look at his history of hiring, to go with people he knows and has some level of history with. He's gone away from that at times, but they looked, and I think Dolan looked in New York at, Rob Pelinka with the Lakers, and obviously what Bob Myers has done with the Warriors is something of a model. But remember this too, whether it was Bob Myers in Golden State or Rob Pelinka with the Lakers, what this hasn't been is a pipeline of players from their former agencies.
Right.
That's not how those organizations work, and that's not necessarily how this is going to work. This isn't college recruiting. This isn't you just go out and bring in the guys who you have relationships with. It's obviously much more complex. They have a belief that Leon Rose can put a structure around him, can put an organization together. And listen, he's got great relationships. He's well respected around the league. You saw the New York Mets make a similar hire from a baseball agent from the same firm. So Leon Rose is going to be the next president of the New York Knicks.
Well, you and I both like Leon a lot. We think he's very smart. I wish him well in that situation. Woj, thank you so much. We will be glued to our phones waiting to hear from you throughout the day. In the meantime, let's talk about the Philadelphia 76ers. They agreed to send 3 second-round picks to the Warriors in that package for Alec Burks, Glenn Robinson III last night. Perk, I have thought Philly was maybe the biggest story going into this trade deadline because they had the highest expectations. They have met them the worst of any team in the league.